Evening Muttonistas, we are still in Karachi, and as most of you will probably know, it is a coastal city, and it being a coastal city, it means of course there is a beach. Now I'll be honest to you, this is not the finest or most appetising beach I've ever been on, but it is popular with locals having an ice cream, taking camel rides and so on and so forth. But luckily we are not here for the beach. If we wanted to go for a beach holiday, we would have gone to the Caribbean or Thailand or somewhere like that. No, we're here for the food. So join me tonight on another Primemutton's food adventures in Karachi. So folks, enough messing about with beaches. We're not here for the beach, of course we're not. But tonight's first food stop is a place called Chai Wala. We're still in the defence area of South Karachi, and chai, of course, you'll have heard of referring to tea, which isn't actually my favourite thing, except for when it's served black without milk or sugar. And they happen to have a nice green tea here. But they also specialise in parathas, a type of Pakistani and Indian bread. They're a bit different to the ones we're used to getting in Indian restaurants in the UK and Europe, and a bit different to the ones you even get in India. So I'm quite keen to try, because they've got a huge range of all sorts of fillings.
Yeah, this would be sort of no street food. New age, started maybe 8 to 10 years ago at the most. So using influences from abroad, also because it's stuffed. So using your regular stuff and then stuffing it in a paratha. So pretty unique that way.
So as usual, we've been privileged to have a little peek at what's going on in the kitchen. There we can see the hot skillet where the parathas are being made. So he's making them there. And here they're making tea of all sorts. We've ordered green tea with mint, because that sugary chai I had the other night was just a bit too milky and sugary for me. Okay, that didn't take long. The parathas were made very quickly, as you could see from the previous clip, and we have on the table a butter paratha. I think it's called LACCHA, LACCHA apparently. So it's a sort of flaky, swirly pastry creation. And we have here chicken achar, which is chicken and pickle. We have potato. And finally, we have the dum QEEMA, which is charcoal grilled beef QEEMA, which is mincemeat, I believe, and it should have a smoky flavour, as it's been cooked on charcoal. And of course, we have our cup of green tea with mint. There's some lemon on the table, or some lime, and I assume that goes in the tea. Quick slurp before we start. I massively prefer that style of tea to the sweet milky stuff. Sorry folks, but that's the way I am. First of all, the plain butter swirly one, LACCHA. This is the one I've actually had before. It's really good with gravies or curries or whatever you want to call them. And not too bad with grilled meat either. I would struggle to make a meal out of just this because it's got no filling inside of it.
Same paratha with stuffed with.
Next, the potato. It's exactly the same paratha, but this has been stuffed with potato. Potato is very slightly spicy, nothing too much, but it's more wholesome and substantial. My understanding of stuffed parathas before I came here was stuffed with vegetable or potato, or both. They are supposed to be snacks, and we're not supposed to order 4 of them, but we did. The filling, the potato filling, is exactly the same as you get in a samosa. This style of snack food is a sort of recent creation, and so they've adapted fillings from other dishes to go inside their parathas. Now the chicken and pickle, chicken achar. Now pickle plays quite an important part of South Asian food. I'm not quite sure about Pakistan, a hell of a lot in India. Sometimes I found achari curries in the UK to be overwhelmed by the pickle, but let's see whether this is any different and whether the fusion is a little more subtle. Indeed it is. Yes, you can taste the pickle, but it's not the only thing you can taste. You can taste the chicken, the bread and the spices as well. And finally the beef QEEMA, the dum QEEMA. It's reasonable, but it is quite greasy, and moreover it doesn't have a huge amount of flavour. It has some, don't get me wrong, I'd have it, but for me, out of the 4, the chicken is the winner and the potato is second. I'll get on with my tea and finish a bit more paratha before we move on to fresh pastures. So, next stop, back by the seaside again, and we're going to try a dish, maybe some other dishes, that's very famous in Karachi, and I had it on my only previous visit to Pakistan, which was only to Karachi. It's called Khadda. It's something many of you will not be familiar with, but let's go in and explore, because the food I remember here is quite good and the decor is lovely, even if the sea view is non-existent in the dark. Now this place is absolutely huge. I think I did eat at exactly this place before. It looks so familiar, and a good time was had by all, and there was a large group of Westerners. Nobody got sick or anything, so if you happen to be here and you're a bit worried about these things, I think this place is fine. So this place is huge. It's over 3 floors. You can fit 1,100 people in at a time, and they often are full, and they often get through 5,000 covers in an evening, particularly at weekends where they close at 1:30. And what's more, if you come at a busy time, say 8 o'clock at a weekend, you'll usually have a 45-minute wait. Wow. So all sorts of things going on here, loads of cooking stations, saji, the chicken, the Balochi style rotisserie chicken, and the famous katakat, named so because of the sound that the chef makes chopping up all the ingredients down and grinding them down into almost a paste. They don't have the testicles here, which I had last time, but they have got brain, kidneys, hearts, all good finger-licking, awfully stuff. And I might add, everything looks spotlessly clean here, so if you're worried about hygiene, this is a good place for you. Everything is absolutely spotless. And then when it's reduced, the famous chopping of the offal, which makes the famous cat sound. And we have people making handies here. We haven't had one yet on this trip, but we will tonight. And handi again is a gravy that refers to the shape of the pot it's cooked in. That's the sound we love to hear, even more so because we've ordered one of those. And we have a bread section here. They're kneading the dough before sticking it into the tandoor over here. And wow, those naans are just flying out. And you probably can't quite catch it from here, but they have a barbecue fatikas right at the back and the right-hand side. They really do have an enormous menu, all sorts of stuff. You can even get Western if you want it here, but why do that when they have all the local specialities and it's clean? So, there we are, that's made me hungry. We're sat at our table. It'll be a while. You have to accept in Pakistan and in many other countries, food is made freshly to order. None of it half done, ready to whip out at a moment's notice. But I can assure you, it's worth it for the extra flavour and taste and freshness you get. So, the food has arrived, and my beverage. I've gone for a salty lassi because I trust the hygiene here. And they told me they use mineral or filtered water. And of course, no ice. Anyway, so we have the Afghani naan, huge. We'll do well to get through all of that. It's just plain, no butter, no garlic, but we have the right team in place. We have the katakat, the offal gravy, which has been reduced nicely to a state where we can easily scoop the stuff out with bread. Lots of ginger and coriander there, and a few chilies I can see. And a mutton mascara handi, which is supposed to be rich and creamy. I must say I'm looking forward to that. And mutton again is goat, and handi is a name you'll come across in the UK. Refers to the shape of the vessel, and it is a popular dish. Whether it's been near a handi in half the restaurants in the UK, I don't know. I'm not sure why that particular vessel lends itself well to serving gravies, but we're about to find out. Okay, I understand it's something to do with the clay and allowing the flavours to breathe. A bit beyond my level of science, that, but I'll be able to tell you when I taste it whether it makes a difference or not. Right, it's katakat time. Let's scoop some of that awfully goodness onto our plate. And that is ready to be naaned to death. So, it's got a bit of tomato in it, brains, heart and kidney. Now, some places, and if you watch my previous film, you'll see that they use testicles, although we didn't eat there. And often they use lamb chops, which kind of look a bit out of place with all that offal. But anyway, let's see whether this one matches up to the one I had before. That is beautiful. That's an offalista's heaven. All the tomato, the ghee, the spices, the ginger, the garlic, the chilli, melding and melting into an orgasm in the mouth that is really that good. And I know a lot of you going, oh, this stuff's always swimming in grease and ghee and fat and everything. Well, yeah, okay, that's kind of the way they cook here, but this one isn't too oily at all. Have a look, there's not much there. I'd say there's quite a lot less oil or ghee than in your standard chicken vindaloo or lamb madras or whatever you might be having in the UK the next time you have an Indian meal. And I'm a bit surprised by how much they like their lemon here. They do serve bits of lemon with all sorts of things. That was splendid, and now it is handi time. I'm looking forward to this because they've added cream to enrich it, which is unusual because usually you suspect yoghurt's involved here. So here we are, look at that. I mean, that is very rich and creamy. I'll just try a piece without bread to be able to assess the flavour better. That gravy is to die for. Not only does the mutton melt in the mouth, but the sauce, it's a bit spicy, plenty of tomato, which I like, and the cream just adds an extra dimension to it. Think of the thick pastes or sauces that you often like that come in sweeter curries, but this one is not. It's spicy. It's basically going to be finished. There's going to be none of that left at all. And as always, bone in. We always order our stuff bone in when we can. And of course, when you get such a flavoursome dish, you don't need to mess about with garlic naans and stuff like that, just a plain one, because you want to taste the sauce and the gravy, not have it overpowered by the naan. To better guide you towards the consistency of the sauce, have you ever had a butter chicken and a particularly thick version of that. It's about the same consistency as that, but obviously there's a lot more going on because butter chicken is very mild. Not that it is spicy, but it's got more flavours about it than a butter chicken. Anyway, viewers, given I'm here, this is mine, and I'm going to finish it. I'll see you when I've finished. Now, while the portions were not small, they weren't that big either. I mean, some of the portions we've had have been a bit silly, but this was more sensible. So it's left a little bit of room for dessert, and we are having the famous South Asian ice cream called kulfi. I believe the difference between this and what you might call regular ice cream is the use of condensed milk. And we have between us pistachio, and we have almond. Pistachio is usually my favourite, but let's see which turns out to be best. Rich and creamy, and again, a theme of this trip is that these sweets have not been as sweet as I expected them to be. I mean, you know, every time I touch a sweet, I'm expecting I'm consuming a whole bag of Tate and Lyle, but that's not really the case here. And it's easy to cut through, it's at the right temperature, so often ice cream can be a little bit too runny because it's melted a bit too much, or it can be very hard and impossible to actually get into because it's frozen solid. I would like it to taste a bit more of pistachio, to be honest, but it's quite pleasant, and again, after those curries or gravies, it's kind of soothing and satisfying. Now, the almond, which appears to have some interesting bits in it and is a rather odd colour, if I may say so. Now, that is a bit sweeter, but on the other hand, it actually tastes more of almonds. So, obviously, I guess at the end of the day, I'd prefer the less sweet one. So, you know, you pays your money, it takes your choice. So, that was splendid. That was Kolachi's by the sea. I've eaten enough food for today. So the next couple of stops, we're going to leave them and continue the video tomorrow. Onwards we go. So given how much food that was yesterday, we're carrying on the vlog today, and we're back in Khadda Market at a place called Indus Foods. There are a couple of famous dishes that I've been reliably informed are best served in Karachi that I haven't tried yet, so tonight is going to be the night when I'm going to try. Hopefully this will be the last stop on this vlog, but you never know with me, there might be a little bonus at the end. And as you can see, a lot of people are just paying up and taking away, but I'm going to eat inside. So I'm actually on here on my own tonight because Sarfaraz is unavailable. It's a bit of an adventure for me. It's a bit Spartan. Getting here was a challenge in a taxi, but we're here now, and it looks okay in terms of cleanliness. So let's hope the food is up to standard. As it's been recommended, it should be good. Everywhere I've been told to go or taken to so far has been absolutely top-notch. So, the food has arrived. It's been presented in a way that I might eat with the naan in my hands, but, well, you'll see what I've got and you'll understand why I'm going to use a spoon and a fork here. So, Muttonistas, we have a biryani. It is a chicken biryani, and if you have a look, a lot of the bits of chicken and the spice are at the bottom of the pile of rice. Now, I strongly suspect this is a dum biryani, and dum biryanis are cooked by putting the meat and the spices at the bottom of a big clay pot and oven baking it with the rice on top, so hopefully the rice infuses all of those meaty and spicy flavours. For years I wouldn't have biryani at Indian restaurants because, well, I had one and I didn't like it, and I discovered when I had a proper one why that was. A lot of places just cut corners, fry a bit of rice up with a bit of meat. Now, the next dish I have never ever had before. It's called halim. It is a stew made from wheat or barley, meat and lentils, and you get some coriander, onion and lemon to throw in on the side, so this will be interesting for me. Whether I like it or not, I don't know. And some naan bread. Okay, let's start with the biryani. Bit of rice first. Yeah, that is the real deal. It might look like plain rice, but boy it isn't. That has got a lot of flavour to it. You can taste the meat and the spices. And yes, I know that people traditionally eat it with their hands over here. I'm not good enough to do that. Certainly not good enough to do that with one hand. So, time for a chunk of chicken with the rice. Can you see it there? I'm spilling rice all over the place, but never mind. And, well, let's see whether it's the real deal. The chicken is nice, but the star of the show is the rice. It really has infused everything. Now for the halim, and there are variations in this, all the way from Bangladesh to Turkey. So I'm guessing the Pakistani and Indian versions are the sort of most original, but I'm not sure about that. So let's go all in with the onions and coriander. These are grated fried onions. Squeeze the lemon. Might remove the pips. Okay, I'll have to try it without naan for the time being because I don't have it to hand. And I do believe this contains mutton or goat. That's not what I expected at all. It's delicious and it has some spice already, so I'm not going to bother putting in the extra spices unless they come along and tell me I must do. But it is almost like a bowl of porridge. That would be a slightly inaccurate description, but it's a really thick, gloopy stew. There's some shredded mutton inside it. I'm getting the citrus, the onions. It's obviously been enriched with desi ghee or clarified butter, some meat and some spice. So it is a winter's day here in Karachi, but for me it's not that cold. But I could see the attraction of a hearty bowl of halim on a cold day. So I'm going to put the camera down and finish off this halim. Wow, that last actually spoonful, that had quite a spicy finish and kick at the end, although I can't see any chilies. Doesn't mean there aren't any chilies in there. And it goes without saying it's also a bit garlicky. So I'll finish it off and see you when I've finished. So I'm nearly done now. The more I eat of this, wow, the spices that evolve in your mouth, it's incredible for what just looks like, you know, a bit of rice on top of a piece of chicken and some sweet potato. And some of you might be saying, oh, where's the raita? Well, and I know a lot of people moisten the rice with raita and use it to cool down their mouths, but first of all, I like the spice, and secondly, as always, if I'm a bit cagey about the water sauce in a restaurant, the sauces on the side and the chutneys and what have you, I miss out. I know raita's just supposed to be yoghurt, but I'd rather enjoy the rest of the trip without having to take Imodium or sit on the toilet all day. So that is now the benchmark by which I'm going to judge other biryanis. So let's see what we get when we try them in future. Anyway, I've just got a little bit of room for one more thing before we wrap up the vlog. And, well, it'll be some sort of dessert, I'm not sure what. Let's go and find something nearby in Khadda Market. Okay, dessert time. I'm at Hot and Spicy, which is a place I'd been to on a previous video. And you might wonder, what on earth are you doing there for dessert? Well, if you know my trusted sense of humour, you'll know that dessert doesn't kind of always mean dessert. It's my last night in Karachi, not my last night in Pakistan, I might add, by any means. And I thought, well, there's something that I'd forgotten to try, which I have to try here. So for dessert, the Primemutton is having mutton chops now, possibly a bit much on top of whatever I've had, and I thought I'd get like 3 or 4, but as usual, quite a generous portion.
This is spicy chutney.
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
You can try also.
All right. So here we are, mutton chops. They're goat chops. Obviously, they're a bit well done, as everything is here, but still, on the whole, the mutton's been pretty flavoursome, and a spicy chutney. So I'll try it without the chutney first. And if you remember, I had the chutney with the Bihari kebab wrap here, so it didn't make me sick a few days ago, so I doubt it's going to do so now. I virtually never get to see goat in the UK, but I quite like it. It's a bit leaner than lamb, so I suppose you could argue you're getting more meat for your money. So there we are, folks. That was my dessert polished off. tasty mutton chops, and it is actually my last evening in Karachi. It's not my last in Pakistan, so don't worry, plenty more content to come, and maybe I'll see these somewhere else and enjoy them as much or even more so, but I thought I'd better have them just in case before I leave. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, of course, and I'll love you and leave you, and until then, don't forget, you can't beat a bit of mutton.